Have you ever stood in a dense forest and looked up? Really looked up? Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the foot of a giant sequoia. It is massive, a living skyscraper of bark and needle. This tree has stood there while empires have risen and fallen, while wars were fought, and while technology shifted from stone tools to supercomputers. It is the embodiment of endurance. Now, shift your gaze. Right next to that ancient giant, imagine a bottle rocket. You light the fuse. There is a spark, a hiss, and then whoosh. It screams into the sky, brilliant and blinding. For 3 seconds, it is the only thing anyone can look at. It is higher than the tree. It is brighter than the sun. It captures the awe of everyone watching. And then, pop, darkness. A trail of smoke fading into the cold night air. A cardboard tube falling back to the earth, forgotten. We live in a culture that is obsessed with the bottle rocket. We scroll through our phones and see the headlines. The 30 under 30. The 19-year-old billionaire. The overnight pop star. We are taught that if you haven't made it by 25, you are running late. If you haven't made it by 30, you are behind. And if you haven't made it by 40, you are finished. We worship the speed of the ascent. We have become addicted to the velocity of success. But here is the question that keeps the philosopher awake at night, and perhaps should keep you awake too. Is the speed of the ascent worth the fragility of the landing? What if the very thing we desire getting there fast is the very thing that prevents us from staying there? Welcome to a journey into the mechanics of achievement. Over the next hours, we are not just going to talk about how to succeed, we are going to dissect the two great timelines of human ambition, the sprint and the marathon. We are going to walk through the fire with the prodigies who burned out too soon, and we will walk through the desert with the late bloomers who built empires that outlasted them. Whether you feel like you are moving too slow, or you are terrified that you are moving too fast, this is your map. We are going to uncover why the tortoise and the hare were both right and both wrong, and how you can find the rhythm that builds not just a fortune, but a legacy. Chapter 1. The Golden Handcuffs of Velocity. Let us begin by dissecting our modern obsession. Why do we love speed? Why is the story of the college dropout who founds a unicorn company more compelling to us than the story of the 50-year-old who builds a sustainable business over 2 decades? It comes down to a simple psychological mechanism: the desire for validation without the cost of time. We look at the young achiever and we see magic. It defies the laws of physics. It suggests that perhaps, just perhaps, we don't have to suffer. We don't have to wait. It feeds a fantasy that life can be hacked. Think about the gold rush. In the 1800s, men and women flocked to California not to build farms, which takes years, but to find a nugget, which takes a moment of luck. Fast success is the modern gold nugget. It is the lottery ticket. But let's look closer at the reality of the wunderkind. When success arrives before the character is fully formed, it creates a dangerous imbalance. Imagine building a skyscraper. You want to build it high, and you want to build it fast. So, you pour the concrete for the 10th floor, the 20th floor, the 50th floor, but you rushed the foundation. You didn't let the cement cure in the basement. From the outside, the building looks magnificent. It touches the clouds. But inside, in the dark, damp corners of the structural supports, cracks are forming. This is the trap of the early achiever. When you win early, you often learn the wrong lessons. You begin to believe that success is easy. You begin to believe that you have the Midas touch. You attribute your success entirely to your own brilliance, ignoring the role of timing, luck, or the support of others. This is what psychologists call the attribution error. Consider the story of a young trader in the financial markets. He enters the game during a historic bull run. Every trade he makes turns to gold. He makes millions in his early 20s. Everyone calls him a genius. He believes them. He starts to take bigger risks, leveraging more capital, ignoring safety protocols. Why? Because he has never felt the pain of a loss. He has no emotional antibodies against failure. When the market corrects, and the market always corrects, he doesn't just lose money. He loses his identity. He crashes not because he wasn't smart, but because he wasn't seasoned. He was a bottle rocket in a hurricane. This is the paradox of speed. Fast success validates your ego, but it often starves your soul. It gives you resources before you have the wisdom to manage them. It gives you power before you have the humility to wield it. As we move through this audiobook, I want you to ask yourself, are you rushing toward a destination you are not yet equipped to inhabit? Let us transition now from the dangers of the sprint to the quiet, often painful beauty of the long road. Chapter 2. The Bamboo Paradox. If the bottle rocket is the symbol of the modern age, the Chinese bamboo tree is the symbol of ancient wisdom. You have likely heard this analogy, but I want you to really listen to it now, to feel the frustration of the farmer who plants it. You take a seed. You plant it in the soil. You water it. You fertilize it. You wait. An entire year passes. Nothing happens. Not a single shoot breaks the surface of the earth. You continue to water it. You protect the patch of dirt from weeds. Another year passes. Still nothing. The neighbors begin to talk. They say you are watering rocks. They say you are a fool. 3 years? 4 years? For 4 years, there is absolutely no visible evidence of growth. To the outside observer, you are wasting your time. You are a failure. But then, in the 5th year, something miraculous happens. A tiny sprout breaks through the soil. And then, in a matter of 6 weeks, that tree grows 90 feet tall. Now, here is the question. Did the tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? The answer, of course, is 5 years. Because during those 4 years of silence, while the world saw nothing, the tree was growing a massive, complex root system underground. It was spreading deep and wide, anchoring itself into the bedrock. If it had shot up in the first year without that root system, the first strong wind would have toppled it. It needed the darkness to prepare for the light. This is the essence of slow success. It is the process of root building. Slow success is often invisible. It is the writer who writes 1,000,000 words that no one reads before publishing a bestseller. It is the chef who chops onions for a decade before opening a Michelin star restaurant. It is the executive who works in the mailroom, then sales, then management, understanding every bolt and gear of the engine before taking the wheel. The beauty of the slow path is that it forges character in the fires of obscurity. When you are struggling, when you are not being applauded, you are forced to look inward. You have to find a motivation that is deeper than fame. You have to fall in love with the craft, not the applause. Think about the story of Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC. He didn't franchise his chicken recipe until he was 62 years old. He slept in his car. He was rejected over 1,000 times. By the time he succeeded, he was an old man. But because he had spent a lifetime dealing with hardship, his success didn't break him. He had the maturity to handle the empire he built. He was an oak tree, not a weed. When success comes slowly, you learn the value of $1. You learn how to treat people, because you remember what it was like to be at the bottom. You learn risk management, because you have had to scrape and save to survive. You are anti-fragile, However, the slow path is not without its own dangers. The danger is despair. The danger is looking at the bottle rockets and thinking you are broken. The danger is giving up in year 4, just before the bamboo shoots up. So, how do we reconcile these two worlds? How do we take the energy of the hare and the wisdom of the tortoise? To understand this, we need to dig deeper into the psychology of the human mind. Chapter 3. The Alchemy of the Struggle. Let us pause and consider the concept of the struggle. In our modern world, we view struggle as a bug in the system. We think that if we are struggling, something is wrong. We want the hack, we want the shortcut. But imagine a butterfly trying to emerge from its chrysalis. It fights, it pushes, it struggles for hours to force its swollen body through a tiny opening. If you were to walk by with a pair of scissors and snip the opening to make it easier for the butterfly, you would kill it. Why? Because the struggle to push through that tiny hole forces fluid from the butterfly's body into its wings. Without the struggle, its wings never expand. It can never fly. The struggle is not the enemy. The struggle is the cocoon. When we look at those who succeed fast, we often see people who have skipped the chrysalis phase. They are given wings before they have developed the muscles to flap them. I want to share a story about two architects. Let's call them Julian and Marcus. Julian is a prodigy. He graduates top of his class at 22. He wins a prestigious award at 24. He is given a commission to build a massive concert hall at 26. He is arrogant, brilliant, and fast. He designs a structure that is visually stunning, defying gravity. But because he has never spent time on a construction site, he ignores the advice of the engineers. He uses materials that look good but age poorly. He treats his workers with disdain because he thinks he is better than them. The hall is built. It opens to fanfare. But within 5 years, the roof begins to leak. The acoustics settle and become muddy. The maintenance costs skyrocket. Julian's reputation takes a hit, and because his ego was entirely wrapped up in his early perfection, he cannot handle the criticism. He spirals into depression and bitterness. Now consider Marcus. Marcus was an average student. He struggled with the math. He spent 10 years working as a draftsman for other architects, drawing the boring details of door frames and ventilation shafts. He spent his 30s renovating small houses, dealing with angry contractors, budget cuts, and mistakes. He learned how water moves through a building. He learned how sunlight ages wood. At 50, Marcus gets his first major commission. It is not flashy, but it is perfect. It fits into the landscape as if it grew there. The materials he chooses get more beautiful with age. The workers love him because he speaks their language. His building stands for 100 years, beloved by everyone who enters it. Julian had the spark. Marcus had the alchemy. The alchemy is the transformation of lead into gold, of suffering into wisdom. The slow path allows for this alchemy. It allows you to make mistakes when the stakes are low. If you bankrupt your lemonade stand at age 10, it's a lesson. If you bankrupt a billion-dollar company at age 25, it's a tragedy that ruins lives. But this does not mean we should fetishize suffering. We should not seek pain for pain's sake. We simply must stop fearing the timeline. We must stop looking at the clock. There is a concept in philosophy called amor fati, love of one's fate. It means accepting the flow of your life. If you are a rocket, be a rocket, but build a guidance system. If you are an oak, be an oak, and do not envy the sparks. As we move into the next chapter, we are going to get practical. We are going to speak directly to those of you who have found yourselves in the fast lane. You have the money, the fame, or the position, and you are terrified of losing it. How do you retroactively build the foundation you skipped? Chapter 4. Anchoring the Rocket. This chapter is for the high flyers. The wonder kinds. The ones who hit the jackpot early. If you are listening to this and you feel that imposter syndrome creeping in, or if you feel the vertigo of high altitude, listen closely. Society tells you to keep accelerating. Strike while the iron is hot, they say. But I am telling you the opposite. If you have succeeded fast, your primary job is no longer acceleration. Your primary job is stabilization. You are driving a race car at 200 miles per hour, but you are driving on tires made for a sedan. You need to upgrade the tires while the car is moving. How do you do that? First, you must aggressively cultivate humility. This is not about false modesty. This is about survival. You must surround yourself with a truth council. When you are successful and young, you attract sycophants. People who say yes to everything you suggest because they want a piece of your power. These people are poison. You need to hire people who are older than you, wiser than you, and who are not afraid to tell you that your ideas are terrible. You need a mentor who has scars. You need someone who has lost what you have just gained, so they can tell you where the cliffs are. Napoleon Hill, in his studies of wealthy men, found that the most enduring successes came from the mastermind principle, the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people. If you are the young genius, you are not the whole brain. You are just the spark plug. You need the engine block. Second, you must separate your net worth from your self-worth. This is the hardest trap. If you make $1 million at 22, you begin to think, I am worth $1 million. If the market crashes and you lose it, you think, I am worth nothing. You must intellectually understand that your fast success was partly due to factors outside your control. Acknowledging luck does not diminish your achievement. It insulates your ego. If you admit luck helped you up, you won't blame yourself entirely if luck takes you down. Third, you must simulate the slow path. You have to manufacture the discipline you didn't have to learn naturally. If you became rich without having to budget, force yourself to live on a budget now. If you became the boss without having to serve, go serve. Volunteer. Do menial tasks. Keep your feet in the mud so you don't forget what the earth feels like. There is a story of a Roman general who returned from war in triumph. As he rode his chariot through the streets, crowds cheering, flowers raining down, a slave stood behind him in the chariot, whispering in his ear over and over, "Memento mori." Remember, you will die. Remember, you are only human. If you are a fast achiever, find your whisperer. It might save your life. But what of the others? What of the vast majority who are grinding day in and day out, watching the rockets fly while they are still tending the soil? Chapter 5. The Art of the Long Game. This chapter is for the tortoises, the late bloomers, the ones who feel like they are running out of time. I want you to take a deep breath, release the tension in your shoulders, stop looking at the scoreboard. The first thing you must realize is that you are not late. You are on a different geologic timescale. You are not building a tent. You are building a cathedral. And cathedrals take time. The superpower of the slow achiever is compound interest. We usually think of this in terms of money, but it applies to skill, reputation, and wisdom. When you learn a skill slowly, you learn it deeply. You learn the nuance. This depth creates a moat around you. The fast achiever can copy your product, but they cannot copy your intuition. They cannot copy the 10,000 hours of pattern recognition you have stored in your brain. Your strategy must be consistency over intensity. The rocket relies on intensity, a massive explosion of energy. The river relies on consistency, a relentless flow that cuts through solid rock. Be the river. But how do you maintain faith during the invisible years? How do you keep going when the bamboo hasn't sprouted? You must fall in love with the plateau. In every pursuit, there are bursts of progress, followed by long, flat periods where it feels like you are not improving. Most people quit on the plateau. They get bored. They think it's not working. But the master knows that the plateau is where the real work happens. The plateau is where the new skill is being hardwired into your nervous system. You are not stalled. You are consolidating. Let me tell you about the concept of the flywheel. Imagine a massive, heavy metal wheel, 50 feet across. Your job is to get it spinning. You push with all your might. It moves an inch. You push again. It moves 2 inches. You keep pushing for hours, days. It seems impossibly slow, but you keep pushing. The wheel picks up a tiny bit of speed, then a bit more. Momentum starts to build. Eventually, the weight of the wheel starts to work for you. You give it a light tap, and it spins furiously. The fast achiever tries to install a motor on the wheel to spin it instantly. Often, the motor burns out or the wheel shatters. You, the slow achiever, are pushing by hand. It is hard, but once that flywheel is spinning on its own momentum, it is unstoppable. It has inertia. It is robust. Do not envy the motor. Trust your arms. Trust the physics of the flywheel. And there is one more crucial advantage to the slow path: the preservation of joy. When you reach the top of the mountain instantly, you often feel empty. Is this it? You ask. But when you climb the mountain inch by inch, you get to enjoy the view from the camps along the way. You make friends on the trail. You learn the names of the flowers. By the time you reach the summit, the view is sweeter because you know the cost of the altitude. Chapter 6. The Great Convergence. We have spoken of the fast and the slow as if they are enemies, but in the grand design of a successful life, they are partners. The truth is, most successful lives are a hybrid. We have seasons of the rocket and seasons of the oak. Perhaps you had a slow start in your career, building skills for 20 years. Now, suddenly, an opportunity arises, and you need to switch to rocket mode. You need to sprint. You can do so safely because you have the foundation. Or perhaps you had a fast start, but now you have hit a wall. You need to switch to oak mode. You need to slow down, put down roots, and reinvent yourself. The goal is not to choose one speed and stick to it forever. The goal is to have a transmission. The goal is to know when to shift gears. The tragedy occurs when you try to be an oak in a sprint or a rocket in a marathon. You must read the terrain. Think of the story of the alchemist. The boy, Santiago, goes on a journey to find treasure. He wants it fast. He travels, he works, he gets robbed, he falls in love, he crosses a desert. It takes him years. When he finally finds the treasure, he realizes it was buried back where he started. Was the journey a waste of time? If he had just dug under the tree at the beginning, he would have had the gold, but he would not have had the wisdom. He would not have known the language of the world. The journey was not about the distance to the treasure. It was about the distance to his own heart. Success, in its truest form, is not about a number in a bank account or a title on a business card. It is about alignment. It is about the alignment of your external reality with your internal truth. If you succeed fast but lose yourself, you have failed. If you succeed slow but find yourself, you have won. Chapter 7. The Daily Practice. We are nearing the end of our time together. I want to leave you with a mental framework to carry with you tomorrow morning, whether you are waking up in a penthouse or a studio apartment. It is called the 2-track mind. Track 1 is the macro patience. This is the deep knowing that great things take time. It is the ability to look at a 10-year horizon without blinking. It is the calm of the oak tree. When you feel anxious, switch to track 1. Remind yourself, I am building a cathedral. Track 2 is the micro speed. This is the urgency of the moment. This is the hustle. This is the realization that today matters. You don't procrastinate. You attack the day's task with the energy of the bottle rocket. Most people get this backward. They have macro speed, they want to be rich next year. And micro patience, they waste today, watching TV. You must flip the script. Be impatient with your actions, but patient with your results. Work like a sprinter, but plan like a marathon runner. If you can hold these two opposing ideas in your mind at the same time, you will become unstoppable. You will have the explosive power to seize opportunities and the structural integrity to withstand storms. Chapter 8. Beyond the Clock. As the sun sets on our conversation, I want you to close your eyes one last time. Remove the timeline from your life. Forget the age you are. Forget the milestones society told you to hit. Imagine that life is not a race to a finish line. Because the only true finish line is death, and that is not a race we should be trying to win. Imagine instead that life is a song. The point of a song is not to get to the end. The point of a song is to dance while the music is playing. If you play the song faster, you don't win, you just end the music sooner. Some songs are fast, upbeat, frantic. Some are slow, melodic, deep. Both are beautiful. If you are the fast success, the prodigy, the star, dance with gratitude. But remember to listen to the other instruments. Don't drown them out. And when the tempo slows down, do not be afraid of the silence. If you are the slow success, the grinder, the builder, dance with pride. Your song is a symphony. It is building to a crescendo that will shake the walls. Do not drop your instrument just because the intro is long. There is no late. There is no early. There is only now. The trap of the fast is arrogance. The trap of the slow is envy. The cure for both is purpose. Go out into the world. Plant your bamboo. Light your fuse. But above all, honor the unique rhythm of your own life. Do not let the ticking of the clock drown out the beating of your heart. This is your journey. Own the pace.